I'm Jason Walker, president of Agency Revolution. Love doing these webinars more than pretty much anything else in my workday. The reason why is because I glean a lot and learn a lot from our special guests that we have. Because, like Jared, our agency partners are in the day to day working with our clients, doing the good work to be able to protect the risk that is obviously out there in this world, no matter where you are in the United States. And so I appreciate the work of independent agencies and always want to get that feedback. And we know that there's been the hard market cloud. I feel like everyone discusses hard market. And we are starting to see softening. We're seeing it with the 3,000 plus agencies that we work with today, comments coming in, shifts in strategy. And so we wanted to get out ahead of that, create kind of a game plan for everybody. And because Jared, you talk like a coach, this whole presentation has been built around your style, but that's where we're going to go today. Anything you want to touch on before I jump into the slides, or want me to keep rolling?
No, I think just to sort of set the groundwork and expectation for everybody that, there's nothing fancy about what we're going to be talking about today. It's all pretty basic. And in fact, one of the slides I think might even have a little side note that, and I'll say it again here in just a little bit. It's really not the fancy moves that help win the games. It's focusing on the fundamentals. And so the things that we're going to be talking, about here, and then many of the tools and resources that, Agency Revolution offers really helps to just enhance what you're already good at, and if you do some fancy moves here and there, that's just kind of icing on the cake. But, really, if you become a master at the fundamentals, you're going to be a master at winning your game, no matter what that is.
And actually, you and I in the background, and I'll leave this as a backdrop for anybody that's trying to figure out how to maybe to enter a chat or whatever. But that was the background that you and I were discussing, where it's establishing more fundamentals. There's a lot of talking heads out there that'll go to conferences and AI this and that and automations until you die. But in the end, it's really about still the expertise that you have, how you can apply that. And then really the tools are just there as assistants, and the ways that you're executing that is what's very helpful and educational for our audience. And we're going to keep running webinars like this just to bring in that perspective. I will also say that, as we always have done, and I really appreciate our marketing team for coming without a cup this time or a thermos or whatever. Those are very cool, great branding, and we'll have more of those. But this time around, I was talking to Ian, who's in the background. He is Agency Revolution, the image that you see on the screen, and he'll be answering questions. He shared that this time, because we're in the summer months and you might be going to, I like to go still to drive-in movies or your kids' sporting events or just going for a picnic. This is a really cool carrying case that opens up for a blanket that you can lay on a lawn. And of course, it carries forward the Agency Revolution brand. So we'll give this away at the end. We always have a fun question. The first three people to answer it correctly get the gift. And so stay tuned for that. Just wanted to make sure that I made mention of it. Yes, super nice. Thank you, DP. All right, our agenda: hard versus softening market, the mindset shift, because there is one. It doesn't have to be radical, just like Jared has set us up for. It's a little bit more simplistic, less sexy, but there are things that are trending a little bit differently. Like I mentioned, for our agencies, noticing the ability to go back out and prospect a bit more, clients starting to look at price differentiation and what they get for that. And so just those little nuances in mindset set shift are creating the conversation that we'll have today. Intentional versus transactional. We literally ripped this off of Jared in our pre-meetings. He was mentioning this dynamic, and we are like, all right, this is the perfect agenda item for you to just go off on it, Jared. So that one's for you. Retention and new business. So how you weigh that within your agency, because even a retained client has a ton of prospecting potential. And so we'll talk about ways that, Jared, you're able to execute. And then we'll give you a quick game plan so that you can walk away with this. And then we'll leave time for the Q&A session. Usually get some great questions, comments, other things that other agencies are doing for everyone else to think about. That's where some of the fun really unfolds. So that's the
Sound,
agenda and moving forward.
Sounds great. Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. So I don't spend too much time on this. Just want to let everybody know, because I'm the president of Agents of Revolution, I got to quickly say we have Fuse, client engagement, marketing automation, and Forge websites. Combine those two things, pretty powerful. A lot of our clients use both, but it's really a way to market, prospect, sell, retain, renew, cross-sell your clients. We do that in tandem with whatever agency management system that you have because we know that that detailed information about each of your policyholders needs to then get into a communication in the segments of where people are at in their journey, and it does all of that communication for you, making it look and feel very personalized so that you can step in and out at your leisure as CSRs, as producers, etc. And then we just bolt some stuff on because we want to be that full office in conjunction with the management system that you subscribe to outside of us. But we've got business texting to open up beyond email. We've got do it for me marketing that helps you dig in the weeds a little bit on the communications from a social and campaign side within Fuse. Local listings to make sure you're represented holistically and in a tight way across all the search engines and things that people are using to find you. Reputation management, NPS scoring, surveying people to make sure everything that you're doing matters, and social media, because that is a channel where a lot of that referral comes through today, in addition to the word of mouth and being at the networking events. I've already given you my overview, so I'm going to skip over to Jared if you want to give us a little bit of background about you in this industry.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I have actually been in the industry for probably more than half of my life. My dad is the agency owner, and I, like probably many of you out there, did not have a plan of joining into insurance whatsoever. I had this idea, during Sunday afternoon, dinners with the family when my dad's griping about, pricing and underwriting and things like that. And I'm thinking, I don't want to have anything to do with that. But here I am 20 years later, been on both sides of the desk as an agent starting out, and then transitioned over and was a marketing rep for two insurance companies for a total of 12 years, and then come back to my dad's agency in 2022. Had a plan of just being his top producer, but turned into quickly his operations and growth manager. We've expanded from one location to four in West Virginia, and the very first thing we did right out of the gate was upgrade our website. And that was 4 years ago when we first were introduced to Agency Revolution. Back then, they were Forge 3 when, I was
Yes.
talking with them. And, we took our website, which basically was, it was trying to be all things to all people, which ultimately ended up being nothing to no one. And so it was really cool because the first thing that, when I was speaking with our I can't remember the girl's name that did our demo, but she was like, we're a website built for insurance agents by insurance agents. We're not trying to be all things to all people. And that was music to my ears. And so from then on out, we just really started adding everything that we could that Agency Revolution offered, and it has been one of the best relationships that we have developed as far as our tech stack that we have within our footprint. And I will just tell you in this little shameless plug, Jason, I don't think I'll ever leave you guys. Like there would, we've had other offers, and I'll be honest, like we've chased those down, but there's nothing anybody else offers that has any sort of leg up on what you guys have, and mainly because of the relationship that I have with you, Jason, and with all of your folks, and I mean that is absolutely real.
Truly appreciate that, Jared. And we do not discuss this and script this. We actually want to keep it as conversation as possible. So for you to offer that up off the fly, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And whether you're a partner or not on this call, and maybe you're using solutions that you're like, that's kind of the same, but it's this brand, that's cool too. You might be here just trying to get ideas of how to use your solutions. And that's how Jared helps us to understand how to actually execute as an agency operations leader. And so that's what we're here to do for you. So I don't care what you're using today. This is really a conversation to give you some best practices from the mind of Jared that's executing on a daily basis. And so where we're going to start is this overarching theme. Rules of the game are changing, and we mentioned it. There's been just articles written, conferences held. I don't know. It's exhausting around the hard market. I remember because it's been like 5, 6 years. This is the longest, historically, the longest running hard market in the history of P&C insurance. And we know all of the reasons that kind of add up to that. It's almost the perfect storm and why it's been so long. And we're not also saying that we're completely out of it. What we're trying to get the point across is we're starting to see the softening. We're watching things open up, carriers coming back into the mix and game where they might not have been, but they've been your appointed partners and you've been waiting. And so we're watching differences in the client behavior, the growth opportunities that you have, the competitors that are in, because even in addition to the traditional agencies, you've got those that are playing the digital game and trying to do a lot of direct stuff, and then some of the risks that are associated. And so, wanted to give you that setup, Jared, so you can help us talk through maybe some of the changes that you're seeing in these four categories and applying some of the real world use cases that you've experienced.
Yeah, so when I came over, like I said, about 4.5 years ago, from the carrier side to work for my dad, were my dad is a an ex-captive nationwide agency, and so he has only been an independent agent since 2020, when Nationwide decided to change their business model to being the independent agent. So when I came back over, we were writing a lot of nationwide business, but the business that we were writing was really primarily, monoline. And so, I mean, it was really flying off the shelves. At that point in time, pricing was really right where we needed it to be, which sort of sets up, how did we get there? We weren't really doing all of the upfront underwriting. We were trusting, the algorithms of the carriers to get it right, and then what ended up happening was, with the storms and things that were historically happening on the coast shifted, and those big convective storms started happening, inland, and then the carriers started having all of these roof claims, and then in addition to that, there was the economy, with inflation, and the cost of building materials was going through the roof, and then, like you said, all these perfect storm of crap basically that brought us to where we are, that caused everything. We had to, as an industry, sort of pause and say, we've got to relearn how to fully underwrite and correctly price these risks so that we can make money off of it. So then what the companies did was they stopped what they were doing. They tightened their guidelines. They certainly put limitations on roofs, and we're still dealing with that, in some states, and had to get themselves back to profitable. And now that a lot of them have gone through that, and that was about an 18 to 24 or so ish month time period, and we were on lockdown. We had to really be very strategic in regards to writing new business, because we really had to fight with underwriting what's going to go where. And not only that, we had to also make sure that the back door was locked as tight as possible, because just as much as it was hard to get these customers in the front door, underwriting was ready to walk them right out the back because they didn't fit these new underwriting models that they had. And so I felt like for days and hours and, at a time, I'm just talking to underwriting, how can I do this all myself? And so that was, I don't know if anybody else can, testify to that, but it was sort of a quite exhausting time period. We were, like I said, when I came in, we were writing business hand over fist, only to come in the 6 months later to start having, guidelines put on us. We can't write any, more of that type of new business, no more monoline, at all. Then homeowner period was pretty much off the shelf, and so we had to, redesign the way that we were marketing ourselves, and also, how to get to the new business. The monoline business wasn't ever our target, but it was just what was available, at the time. And so trying to, trudge our way through that, we actually learned a lot, and took on disciplines now that, since the insurance industry and the companies that we partner with have relearned how to properly rate their risk, we're able to now actually flex our disciplined muscles to grow more efficiently, move faster, and ultimately get our trend lines going at more of a vertical growth number than we ever had before. So in a lot of ways, I got to say, I'm thankful for that time period that, the market was extremely hard, because it forced us into being the disciplined agents that we are today.
So, Jared, are you, and I appreciate that background, and I'm seeing some confirmation or thumbs up when you're like, I don't know if anybody else is feeling this or has gone through it, but you're getting the emojis to say, yes, we have. And someone asked where you're located, West Virginia. You went from one to four locations. Is your service area growing? And what did you notice as you expanded from a competition perspective? Like, what are you seeing trying to bite at your clientele?
My dad was the one that would go out and he was making acquisitions of these other retiring agents as they came time to, move on to their next chapter in life. And they were all very similar agencies that what we already had. We didn't, again, just like I mentioned at the beginning, about our website, didn't want it to be all things to all people. We don't want to have all the carriers in the world either. We've really gotten ourselves on the personal line side to where, we've got six what I call preferred partners. Those are the ones that I do business planning with, the ones that I do regular tracking and managing of the new business. And we obviously have other, brokered, type business and things like that. But those are for the ones that, are outside of the appetite of our preferred partners. So I mean, it was a challenge, when you take on any sort of acquisition, you really want to assimilate that into the, core nature of the agency that you want to, ultimately be. We did have, the only one that I was, a part of was when we purchased our Beckley location. It worked out really well because I was actually employed at both locations at the same time, and was able to sort of assimilate the new one into the processes and things before we made the official acquisition. So the customers didn't know any different. We still
Okay.
operate. You've I think when you saw my picture there, we represent three different agency brands because for a career that prior owner spent their career developing their name and their own brand. So, we are the Clark West agency, but we operate locally with that local brand. And that really helped the culture of the existing agency not be so disrupted when we move forward with that acquisition.
Okay, perfect. And again, thank you for the background, just because there's the shifting dynamic of the market, but also the agency growth and evolution that a lot of our people on this call are experiencing as well, and how to be able to navigate that is where we're all trying to get. And so, do you feel like there's anything else in this client behaviors changing, agency growth, competition, people kind of coming at your client base, and then the risks involved where sometimes complacency wins out when you're getting enough business because of higher rates? Anything else to consider here, or is this fairly sound in your opinion and
Well,
perspective?
just for me, and we all want to be successful business people, and so like I'm not sharing any trade secrets or anything like that. But one of the things that is core to us is meeting our customers when, where, and how they want to be met. If you want to be that fully connected customer that communicates through video messaging, video proposals through Agency Revolution, for example, wants to pay, with auto draft. They use the carrier apps and get all their docs, through digital methods. We can do that. If you want to be that customer that comes in and tells us about your kid's soccer game last Saturday in person and you're paying with cash, you want your paper documents in hand or anywhere in between. We're trying to do all things. In that case, we are trying to do all things for all people, because the first thing that we've noticed in a lot of the business that we've been able to capture over the past couple of years that goes away when these agencies are being purchased by these big giant carriers and big giant agents and things like that. And I hope I'm not stepping on any toes, but the thing that seems to go away first is customer service. And if
Yeah.
it wasn't for those customers, we'd have to shut our doors.
That's right.
Period. So if I'm, if I'm capturing somebody because I'm actually trying to maintain a relationship with you, I'll sell it at a higher price because I'm offering something that they didn't have before. And another thing that we really try to do, and I think is just absolutely urgent and also important, and something that I can't believe has gone, by the wayside. This is a basic fundamental thing, is educating the customers about what their coverage actually gives them and also what it doesn't give them. I just, that you would, I shock myself every time I sell a policy because I'll go line by line and I'll explain this is this and that's that. And did you know this? And did you know that? How many times I see those little light bulbs going off above their head? They had no idea.
Hmm.
They absolutely had no idea, that this covered that or it didn't cover, that. So many times they're thinking that, a deductible is something that they have to literally pay for. They're going to have to come up with that money to pay for that deductible, and nobody ever explained to them, how it ever works. So that, again, just taking it down to the fundamentals of, I'm going to be the trusted advisor, but I want you to understand, what it is that you're paying for.
Yeah. No, that's good description and just kind of the all-encompassing, just be where your customer is, be accessible, and you have all walks of life coming into your virtual storefront or your physical storefront, and to be able to hit them where they need to be hit. Bad terms, not hitting them, but meet them where they want to be met
Right.
is important. I appreciate that, especially with that whole digital push. So, coach's notes, just to let everybody know, we are using some of the commentary that we had building up to this whole presentation. So, we're trying to make sure that we give credit where credit's due to Jared. So, premiums are stabilizing, clients are starting to ask questions. Now is the time to start adapting. We've got a couple more of those notes that'll be popping up throughout. So, let's talk about then this mindset shift that we mentioned. And there's this kind of battle between the transactional and what we've dubbed consultative and intentional, because that's where you led us leading up to this presentation. And just to give everybody examples, only contacts clients at renewal time, more that transactional side, which we probably are all familiar with, versus staying in touch year round at every key client milestone. Similarly, on the transactional side, processes the policy and moves on, versus adding value through advice and relationship building, and then rounding that out, relying on business growth through rate increases versus growth through trust, consistency, and referrals. I will say that that is probably to a lot of our viewers like, yes, we get it. So what we want to be able to do is open up these concepts, but in your words, in the ways that you're executing within your agency, what you're willing to share. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so the transactional only contacting, the clients at renewal time just really leaves openings for anybody else, 15 minutes will save you 15%. There's this concept that insurance is only about price. And I kind of talked about that a minute ago. And, if you gain a customer for price, you're most likely going to lose that customer for price. If you use a comparative rater and you're going to the bottom and the least expensive one every single time, what are you going to do next year when that carrier takes a price increase and you have nothing left in your back pocket? You have nowhere else to go, because you sold them on price. You're going to lose them. Now, throughout the year, again, I'm going to lean on Agency Revolution and their video proposals. I don't personally like to send out videos, that are lengthy. I know for myself, I've got probably a good little bit of ADD in my brain, and I don't have the attention span to sit there and watch a 10-minute long video. So just little quick hits. This is who I am. This is what I do. Thank you so much for your business. They mean a lot, other things, that you can automate that are tremendously helpful. We send out happy birthday messages. They go through email and through text message. Again, Agency Revolution does that for us. We set that and forget it. And I'll sit there and watch the messages that come back on a daily basis. Thank you, with hearts and emojis and all these other things, just from a simple happy birthday text that we set up, right at the beginning of time. And then that gives us the opportunity to be more proactive than reactive. I'll tell you another little secret sauce thing. If you don't tell anybody else about it, we created a campaign for our last day to pay customers. I know that sometimes just keeping the customers paying is a tremendous challenge. So we use both our agency management system, QQ Catalyst, and Agency Revolution to keep up with our last day to pay customers. So they get identified. We have a girl that goes in and looks at all the customers and their last day to pay. She plugs them into our QQ Catalyst. And then we have somebody go in when they're tagged to somebody who is running up on they're already past due. And then we add a tag to their profile in Agency Revolution. And then they're going to get text message every 3 days until they make their payment and the tag is removed. And it's just a simple text. Hey, this is Clark West Agency. We really appreciate your business, and we really make it easy for you to pay your bill. Click here or give us a call, and that's it. And so that has I haven't looked at it in a little bit, but we have less non-pay cancels now than we did before we ran that campaign.
That's helpful. And I will tell you perfect timing because we had a question as you were talking before you said texting that says, can we text through AR? Your point is you're leveraging the texting tool. And I was going to ask you if you didn't know or if you didn't say it, like, are you seeing, even if it's a gut reaction, a little bit more of an uptick on those clients because of texting? Because we have seen that clients just want the text message on their phone because they're not going to read an email until late at night. So you've just
Exactly.
proven that point.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't know the statistics, but I know that it is statistically proven that people will check a text message exponentially faster than they're going to go
We
check
do, right?
check
For
their
everything
email.
we do. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
yeah, and so
consumers.
so right, and so that the bounce back and forth, then it's just easy, and so yeah, so yes, we do text through Agency Revolution. We've got the 4 locations. Everybody has access to that texting, and so when a customer the one thing is it's not it'll have their name and everything on there, but we can't automate it to show how much they owe. So
Right.
but that's cool because what that does is it incites a conversation, and so then that's another touch point that we get to have, and we do have our regulars, we have our folks that are sort of habitually late payers, but we probably have the best relationship with them out of anybody because we're talking to them all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so moving on to the processes, the policy, and moves on versus the consultative and intentional, adds value through advice and relationship building. That goes back to what I was talking about, not just flipping that burger and saying, here's your coverage and sign here and pay here and move on. I want you to understand, because here's the thing, like insurance is expensive, but so is the cost of healthcare. And if you have a one story that I tell all the time, about 5 years ago, I broke my collarbone, and I had to have surgery and all this other stuff. And the hospital called me and this was such a gracious thing that they did. I'm still, my arm is still up like this. I haven't had my surgery yet. And they said, hey, this is going to cost $45,000. And I'm
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, they hadn't hit insurance yet. Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank God for insurance, and it was way less once insurance hit. But if you take this and you make everything relative, I've got my wife and 4 kids, and we're all in the car. You hit us, and if everything's relative, all of us get a broken collarbone. We'll say each of us sustained $45,000 worth of damage to our body. Do you have enough coverage to pay for that? That's
Right.
real.
Right.
That's real. And then that doesn't even take into account the property damage and anything else that might go on. And so if you're not, making this intangible product something that they can reach out and grab, you're missing it. And then when you can see those light bulbs go off and see them, oh, I never even thought about that before. You've really grown somebody who not only will stick with you longer, but will trust you when you give them your advice. And then when you look out the window and you see that, pickup truck that you're writing the insurance on, and you see that it's got a hitch on it. Well, I see you got a hitch on your truck. What are you pulling with that? Well, I've got a boat, or I've got a camper, or I'm a landscaper. I run my own landscaping business. Well, then that creates another opportunity. It's just a conversation. It's not like you're going down and checkboxing it, and it's a total sterile triage type of a situation. You're actually engaging with the customer and giving them an opportunity to tell you probably more than you ever wanted to know. And they will, when you start asking questions like that, they kind of want to brag about it. And
Yes.
and what that does is that it will continue to add value. If you just continue to flip that burger, right, it's going to eventually burn out, and they're going to move on, and there won't be any relationship with that. Transactional, relies on business growth through rate increases. We've all kind of been there when you have to move a customer, from one carrier to another. Again, you're going to run out. Like, at the end of that, there is an end, to that. And so if you can grow through trust and also have little touch points throughout their tenure and term with you, using whenever you are taking a payment to do little coverage spot checks. See, we like to have every single one of our folks that work in our agency licensed so that everyone can have these coverage and pricing conversations, and they're not having to pass it off to another licensed person. They can literally sit there and account round from a service call. They can sit there and account round or upsell from a payment situation. They'll look and see, oh, you're missing out on a discount, and then through that, they're going to be able to. You can really watch that relationship flower and grow, and then that's when you're adding policies and retaining, you're just going to see that continue to grow exponentially after that.
That's a place where we focus a lot just from the technology side to help support everything that you're doing and our clients are doing is the whole conversation around policies per customer because we know that if you can add an additional, you're like 3xing the lifetime of that account. To your point, don't just keep doing the same thing by flipping it and browning it a little bit more, but make sure that
Yeah.
you're able to grow that and through whatever you're getting from your client, whether that's coming through the site, whether that's response back to some of that automated communication where they're like, he must be typing me all the time. You will when you need to be introduced, but the point is that they're offering up more information each time, and you can build off of that. And then once you can grow that policy per customer, like that's game over from in a good way for your agency because you also just have that tight grip and retention
Yeah,
opportunity.
before we move on, and not to take too much time on
Yeah,
it, but one of the best things that you can do, like throughout the way, you're not exhausting yourself doing this all on your own. You're
right.
totally holding hands with your folks at Agency Revolution that are helping to supplement the work that you're doing, and they help sell for you. You're going to get some monoline customers. It's just going to happen, but then you're going to have if a monoline customer is sold, then they're going to get an account round email to try to get them to think about because they got to live somewhere, right? So you have an opportunity to at least have that conversation with them. And then at renewal, another thing that we did pre-renewal is we created a form that goes through a list of questions, household questions. What's changed since the last time we talked? Are there new drivers? Have you done any additions to your house? Have you traded vehicles? All these different things. That form comes into us, and I call her a retention queen. She's in one of our other offices, and she literally combs through each one of our renewals, takes that form, attaches because it gets emailed in. She attaches it to their QQ profile, and then the agent that's assigned to that account can then go through that and then talk to the customer all before they ever get their renewal from the carrier. So what's cool about that is a lot of times she's able to uncover opportunities for account round, which is going to create more discount. So then we're able to actually upsell or account round and cross sell things like that. So then you're still not making it a price conversation at renewal. If you leave it and just let that paper or email get to your customer with here's your renewal pricing, that's all they're going to see. But if you
Yeah.
actually come to them and have this consultative conversation about what's going on in your household, it takes that price conversation. I mean, it's a part of it. You can't ignore it. But it goes less on the priority list because you're actually investing into what you're covering when you have these policies.
That's a fantastic use case, and I will just finish with saying I was just giving a demo yesterday to someone internally with the Fuse platform, and my demo account is set up, and I have access to everything. So I was like, "Oh, yes." And then we have this form center, and I'm walking into it, and I'm like, and there are. I thought it was counting 21 forms created or something like that, and I was like, "Wait a minute." That's 21 plus pages of forms within Fuse. And I love that you're showing how to use it in real time. It's important to be able to get information back that digitally interacts so that you don't have to spend all that time in the interview process. And then that can be used to activate someone else within the agency. And it happened a lot because your client took the first steps because you gave them the form that's replicated across all of your client base. That is really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Hey,
Yeah, you're welcome.
Jared, quick question from Cindy based on the campaign you just mentioned. At what point in the policy cycle are you sending that out?
Um, I could tell you if, very quickly. It is. I think it's going to be like 90 days prior to the renewal going out.
Sounds right.
And then there's still a bit of sequence that happens. So there's actually a text that comes out and says, "Hey, your renewal's coming up. be on the lookout for more information. Then like 5 days later, they're going to get the email. They'll have a little bit, if they have it, of the information about the upcoming renewal. There'll be some pricing information in there. But if you have any household changes, click here, and then that gives us, we're not, at that point we're still 60 to 75 days, prior to the renewal, plenty of time to make changes. So yeah, you're definitely still you're the one that's actually delivering the renewal information, not the carrier. And so that's really where I want to be. I want to be in front of that completely.
Thank you for that. And then your quote, the probing, active listening, asking the right questions makes us more than just transactional. It turns us intentional, which is a great way to summarize this conversation and appreciate that insight, Jared. All right, let's move into the retention and new business growth. So we think with this whole theme of being our coach today, and you've got the defensive side and the offensive side. On the defensive side, around retention, communicating year round, highlighting value over price, consultative cross sell. On the offensive side, building a referral engine, proactive, timely outreach, and staying visible online. You want to kind of dive into some of these themes and just share from your perspective how you're able to balance both sides of this equation to have that strong team that's approaching the insurance space?
Yeah, so I would just say, first of all, there's a lot of information, that's coming at you rapid fire right now. I'm telling you all the things that I'm doing. I built this over the course of, 4.5 years. This isn't something if you're not doing anything, just pick one thing and do it. Don't feel like you've got to do everything all at once, because that will be completely overwhelming. Now, if you do jump in and you do want to, I would be more than happy to show everybody the things that I'm doing, and the folks at Agency Revolution that I've come to have a wonderful relationship with, have been the ones that showed me how to do it. So, some of these things, it does sound overwhelming, to think about communicating year round. I don't know how much premium each of you might be managing on your own, but the last time I looked at a full-time equivalency sheet, it was like each CSR should be able to manage what is it, like $1 million of premium,
Yeah.
something like that, for a full-time equivalency. I mean, it sounds like a lot, right? So you're having to write a lot of emails, you're having to communicate, quite a lot. One of the things that I do is absolutely use the tools and resources that are available. Use Sidekick with Agency Revolution to create emails. You give it just the framework, a couple of words. This is the message I want to deliver. Make it casual, make it excited, and make it medium length, and then boom, you're done. Copy and paste, double check it, and make sure it says exactly what you did want it to say, as you should with any AI, and then email that. I use that all the time, in regards to communicating with our customers. Again, highlight value over price. I've gone through that, several times. You and your time are your most valuable asset. Each of us only has a certain amount of time throughout the day, and so you want to make sure that you're using that time to maximize your output. So, like I said, I use all kinds, I use Google Gemini and Sidekick on the daily, to recreate things that I would have otherwise been taking hours, if not days, to create. We were talking about commission statements earlier, before everybody jumped on the call. Some of these carriers don't send the prettiest commission statements through, and they become very challenging to try to sift through to get them out so your folks can get paid. I take those ugly ones, plug them into Google Gemini, and say, turn this into something useful, and it does it within 2.5 minutes. Boom, send it out, and we're done. Consultative cross sell is again one of those plays that I was talking about earlier. It adds value. It helps you become that trusted advisor, which is what we all want to be. We don't want that customer going online and asking questions. We don't want that customer going to Mr. Agent down the street. We want them coming to you, because you're the one that maybe started that relationship, and you want to keep it and you want to grow it. So by continuing to present them opportunities that they may otherwise haven't ever thought about before, is only going to help you out. On the offensive plays, build a referral engine. I'm telling you what, when it comes to new business, it can be overwhelming. We've all got to grow. We've all got to continue to find ways to continue to move that needle and get it moving. And trying to do it on your own can be really challenging. One of the things I can say, if you're not doing it, make a pipeline, live by the pipeline. Don't celebrate too long on that one win, because now your pipeline is one less and you need to replace it with another one. And then another, so to help you supplement, those wins, find you some real estate agents, find you some mortgage lenders, go back and let's uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Bring back to life, going and prospecting at a car dealership. We've got some folks at our agency right now that go to car dealerships, and this might sound elementary, or might sound like something I don't want monoline auto business. You won't just get monoline auto business. Some of our biggest accounts that we've sold this year came because we've got somebody that's dedicated to going out to a car dealership and spending time with them, taking them some donuts, dropping off at Little Caesars hot and ready, and saying, "Hey, when you need me, call me." And we've gotten them, and we're talking about not just getting the auto, we're getting the home, and then we're getting, everything else. And then that's when you become really build that referral engine. Proactive and timely outreach. One thing that I haven't ever done, but it keeps coming back into yeah, in front of me, is using your out of office or automatic response in your email. I don't know about you guys, but I carry my phone with me. My emails are going off all the time, and I might read them, but I don't always necessarily respond immediately. I do try to respond within a timely way. Um, Go ahead and set up your auto response and leave it on. Hey, thank you for your email. I really appreciate you taking the time. And if I have business with you, I appreciate that. I just want you to know I've got your email, and I will be reaching back out to you just as soon as possible. Let's that customer, or whoever it is, maybe it's that referral partner, feel heard, feel validated. They know that you've got it. They're not just sitting there waiting on a response because it's going to come back to them immediately. And then that will buy you a little bit of time to go ahead and take care of what they need. Another thing, again, this is fundamental. This is basic. If you make somebody a promise, I'm going to have this to you by 3 o'clock today, and you don't have the answer by 3 o'clock, call them and tell them anyway. Listen, I'm still working. This is harder than I thought, or the person I needed isn't available. Let them know you're still working. Going to make them feel valued by letting them know that they're still top of mind. Stay visible online. You know, Agency Revolution is our engine here. They're our star. They're the one, the more that you do with them, the more you're going to show up on the top of the Google search. One of the coolest things that I learned about that I didn't even know was a thing. We've all heard of SEO, search engine optimization, and it doesn't flip the switch overnight. It's a building process, but one day after you're working on it, it will start to show up. And then one day, now that all these other tools and resources are out there, you're going to get some folks that have found you through AI, found you through ChatGPT, or found you through Google Gemini or Claude or whoever else is out there. And I've experienced that. It's called answer engine optimization. So they're literally having a conversation with their AI, and they tell you, "Hey, I've got these policies. Hey, I want this. This is what I want out of my insurance agency. Who do you recommend?" I've got folks that have found us that are in other states I've never even met in person before. And then I have those video conferences and send video messaging to them. And I've got, full accounts, and just let these things do the hard work for you. You will reap the benefits of it, very, very quickly.
Thank you for the AEO explanation, because I am rethinking how we approach it or educate people on AEO. Like, you're the walking testimonial of answer engine optimization, and that's outside of even Agency Revolution. That's just making sure that not only, yes, do you still show up in search engines because they're widely used, but people are having conversations with AI tools, and to make sure that you are being seen as the 1 to 2 to 3 different reputable sources that are being cited in the AI's answer is where you need to be, want to be. And so all of that is important. And the way that you described it, Jared, lets us kind of know the power of AEO, like right up front for an insurance agency, and how far it can stretch. You don't win games by doing the fancy moves. You win by doing the fundamentals. That's what you led with, and it's continually playing out in this discussion. So here's the ultimate game plan for everybody, as Jared has spent just probably too much time with us, and I really appreciate that. Uh, Being able to kind of lay that groundwork and framework. So the places where we're making a recommendation, or if you're to walk away with something that's a game plan today, and you will all get this recording so you can watch this 100 different times, are these 6 components. So the first one is audit the client communications, find out what people are asking about insurance, and create content around that. We make this recommendation all the time. That's a great way to create your frequently asked questions because as AI tools and search engines are reading through pages, they're going to look for information rich pages like this. So making sure your communications are attacking the conversations that people are having about insurance or with you so that you can educate the wider audience. Add one new touch point. So reach out to a select client segment this month with something other than a renewal reminder. And this really plays into what Jared's articulated around retention versus going after net new and thinking about you have existing client bases that might be that mono line today that you want to be able to grow with additional policies. So adding that one net new touch point that's more than just a renewal, and maybe it's that outreach because Jared shared, listen, I'm telling people things that are like happy birthday or whatever. It might seem like, okay, yeah, I guess I should say that. But the power of getting the responses, the memes and emojis like you're getting on this presentation, like that stuff adds up to the sentiment value that ultimately leads people back to you and creates loyalty. The account rounding list, pull a list of clients from your AMS who have a potential coverage gap and add them to a cross-sell campaign. So getting back on more of that transactional layer, but doing it in a way that's educational. You've got clients, they're maturing, evolving, expanding, whether that's commercial lines, personal lines, wherever you focus your attention. And so being able to look for a particular segment within your AMS where you can start to talk about cross-selling opportunities, that's knowledge for consumers that they want. Again, both business owners or just on that personal line side. Build referrals into marketing. Identify one existing communication you could send to happy clients and add a referral ask to it. Your clients that love you and that honestly, this is a representation of that. Jared is willing to do communications. We will absolutely send some nice swag your way, Jared. I know we promised that and we will because you're willing to do it. But like you're willing to share. No one has to prompt you. You're doing it in the context of how it's affecting your business. Like you have to provide good services and solutions, but the loyalty then is generated. And so for agencies that have been through the thick and thin with their client base, just being able to identify those people who just have that loyalty you're friends with that are willing to send a referral your way, it's a great mechanism. You can do it through social media, you can do it through digital communication. We're used to doing it in networking events over the decades, but just expand how you get that back. Block time for outreach. So schedule one dedicated outbound block this week to reach out to clients and prospects. Jared, you were kind of mentioning some of that in conversations that we've had, but seeing results where it's like, you know what? And we do this at Agency Revolution. We're like, let's just stop researching more about AI or how we're going to put that into our company and just block a little bit of time as a team and perform some efforts where we're establishing that communication on a personal level. And you'll see the fruits of that labor because we still today, I will tell everyone that it is through the outreach of our team to agents that creates the most meaningful wins for us, whether that's because we're selling to them or supporting them. It's not always the digital communication that is helpful to the personal side of it. So just doing some simple things like blocking out that outreach. And then finally, search your agency online. Google your agency name or throw it into an AI platform like Jared mentioned and your market to see what a prospect sees to make sure you come up. That goes back decades. I started in search engine optimization and advertising in the early 2000s, and that's still applicable today. And then on top of that, ask your best AI platform that you love to have conversations with who it would recommend in their local community. And you're really hoping that they'll say something about you. And if they're not, what is the AI returning? And then take that and start creating content as either blog posts or FAQs so that you can become more of that recommended source within an AI platform. So that's the ultimate game plan and a nice synopsis and wrapping in a lot of what Jared has spoken to us about today. Any parting pieces there, Jared, or should we move on to the poll?
You mentioned just real quick about the blog posts and things like that.
Yeah.
If you're really wanting to try to increase your SEO or your AEO, I would definitely encourage you to do the blog posting. I was a part of a blog posting webinar a couple of months ago with you guys as well. So we had another agency partner on here that he's really done a lot with it. I had just gotten started in that. A lot of these, it seems like a really overwhelming idea to come up with, well, what do I blog about, and so there you can quickly Google, what are insurance customers interested in, and then you can go to Sidekick and say, or use First Draft, which is Sidekick, write a blog post, and then you basically just post it. You can share it on your social media, you can highlight them on your on your website, and as you continue to do those, you'll continue to grow your SEO and AEO. One other quick thing before we get to the poll. I'm sorry, I keep thinking of things that are I think important for folks, is when you talked about referrals and reviews. Everybody, we get NPS scores through Agency Revolution, and we love seeing those ones where they're really patting us on the back and telling us we did a great job. But I want to encourage everybody, don't be afraid of those negative reviews, because that really gives you a chance to be a problem solver. It really makes you a real person at that point, because nothing's going to go great all the time. I would encourage you, make sure that if you are getting those NPS scores, or you're getting your Google reviews, make sure you're responding to them, and not just the ones that are giving you praises, also the ones that are giving you a little bit of down the road about how things went. Whether it was your fault, whether it was something that happened with the cooks in the kitchen, it doesn't matter. Make sure that you are responding to those, because it gives, like I said, you the opportunity to still be the hero, even if it was something that went sideways.
I have a quick question for you on that. I'll just mention the poll. It popped up on your screen. In order to get rid of it, you just fill out one of these radio dials. So, want to see how this applies to your agency? If you're interested in AR solutions, just click one of those three radio dial buttons. Once you do, it falls off the screen. And while people are doing that, Jared, is that then, so we've talked so much about the digital usage of communication and automation and AI and all of that, but your point is, when you have those bad reviews, etc., is that the point where you reintroduce the personal side of the agency, or do you do this in a systematic way when you're reaching out to those that might have issues, challenges, whatever, with the agency or an experience they had with you? Is that
So
where
the
the person comes back into the mix?
Yeah, so what's really cool is all of our communications that are sent out through Agency Revolution are sent out by the assigned producer. So if these reviews and things are coming in, they're sent to the person that was managing it. I, as a manager, get to go in and see all of it, and so I'm making sure that those are being addressed. In some cases, I'll reach out to the producer and say, "Hey, you fixed that." They might have left our agency and they gave us a negative review, but you fixed that. And, we need to not only let them know, but let the world know that we don't just leave people hanging,
Yeah.
that we are responsible for the things that we're responsible for, and we take ownership for that. So there's times where I really think it's appropriate for the producer to be the one, to make their response. And then there's other times when I'll do it myself as an operations manager, and, speaking from over the top, from a type of a perspective. But I think either way it goes, it's just urgently important to make sure, because the ripple effects, the customer that comes in and they're going to have a conversation with you, and where does that ripple out to? Who are they going to talk to? Uh, and how will that ripple effect come back and affect you later?
Okay, Ian, I'm going to ask you to jump in here. Are we good with the poll
The poll is
or
over. Thanks to everyone for submitting that. Appreciate you.
awesome?
All
I'm
right,
not
so we've
sure if
got
I'm
some
supposed to.
freebies coming your way. So, Jared and Jason gave a great presentation on how you can start planning and preparing for that changing market. So, we're going to send you a resource with some of those great tips from Jared. So, stay tuned for that. It's going to be in your mailbox tomorrow, along with the recording. And in addition, it's time for the giveaway. So, if you've been with us before, you know how this works. Go into the chat and make sure you're ready to type in your answer. I'm going to read off the question in just a second. So the first three people to get it right are going to be sent the gift that we showed you earlier, which is that a picnic blanket. So without further ado, open up your chat and let's go ahead into the question, Jason.
Here we go.
All right. What fictional head coach went across the pond to coach football?
Wow, that was fast.
Instant answers here. All right. You guys are ready for that. Okay, Mike, Thomas, Joseph, and Lisa. You guys are going to be sent the gifts. So appreciate you for playing. And that was probably the fastest answer we've ever gotten on one of these little quizzes. But I know in the interest of time, I wanted to keep it easy. So appreciate you. So awesome.
All
We
right.
did have some questions that came in. So I'll go ahead and run those by you guys. First and foremost, we had a question from Cheney. So let me go through my list here. So, Jared, I think this is more related to you, as you were describing that you have a multi-location agency. But Cheney was wondering, have you had issues with Google suspending your Google business profile after updating the location post acquisition? We keep getting automatically suspended and can't seem to get Google to help. Would that be something local listing service could help with? Yes and no, but Jared, I'll let you jump in first.
So this is one of the with local listings, this is one of the ones that I think that we actually don't utilize you guys for. But Google can be a little challenging.
Yeah.
And so I don't personally jump into that myself. We are in I told you we try to do all things, and meet people where they are. So we actually still subscribe to a Yellow Page ad phone book. If
Hmm.
anybody knows what that is, just that doesn't know what that is, just Google it. And so we have, and it's actually the people that used to do our website. They still manage our Google My Business and our Yellow Pages. And so anytime that we have our Google stuff fall off, they just sort of jump on that for us. I haven't personally. There's maybe been one or two times that we have to. I don't remember what it's like, recertify or whatever you said it was called. They just
Re-verify, yeah.
re-verify. Yeah, I mean I've had to, and normally it's just a phone conversation. Like they'll have to call the location that you're trying to verify, and I mean, I might have had a couple of times where we've had to do it, but not super often.
Yeah, I'll just say very quickly that from that experience, Cheney, you'll definitely want to reach out to Google support. They'll definitely be able to help you get that squared away. It's annoying because if you know Google, they're basically almost all automated with algorithms now. So there's, the double-edged sword of automation. But once you can get that solved, and as long as you have like the proper business documentation, usually it's not too terrible. It might just take some time. So stick with it. But our local listings can help to actually, you manage and maintain your listing for Google, but our team with local listings will actually update it. So if you're like, hey, I need to update my hours on the website, okay, well, we're going to change it for you everywhere. So there's that aspect to it, but you ultimately will maintain control of your own listing. So that's why you want to definitely get verification of it taken care of.
Yeah,
Um,
you do have to be careful and not make too many changes at one time. Or if you're going to make a change, make sure you do it all in that one, structural change period. Don't do one change and then go back and do another one. That'll kick you off pretty quickly for doing that.
yeah, and Jared, another one from Mark had a question. How did you assess the book of business that you acquired prior to purchasing? I'm not sure if you want to share any details on that, but Mark was curious if you had any insight into that. A little
Well,
off topic, but
so the agency that was purchased in 2024, there was kind of a arrangement that was already made between my dad and the other owner, for years, before that happened. And so, like I said, I was able to come in and work, both places and sort of assimilate it into the book was fine. There was nothing wrong with the book at all. It was just some of the processes we wanted to make sure, aligned everywhere else. We're in the middle of a book acquisition right now, where we are getting just a book of business. And just to stay on the same vein, I took the production report that was given to us and ran a analysis through Google Gemini, and it gave me a full report based on what was available on the production report. I even then had it, talk me through an offer that we wanted to make and what was going to be fair for both parties. So it basically from beginning to end helped me analyze the book, find out if it actually was one that was a viable prospect for us, and then all the way to the end of making the offer and drafting the offer, and then as well even created the PowerPoint presentation for when we were making the proposal to them to show them how we actually came to what we came to.
Awesome. Jason, do you have anything to add, or are we at
No,
we're
I
at
was just
about
gonna
time?
say there was one question that made me laugh, which was Jared, when you were explaining the auto dealers and how that works so well, there was a question of, did you have your team start at the Land Rover or BMW dealerships to begin this whole thing?
Yeah, and I mean, I saw that and I actually answered on that one, and
Oh,
I would say, you don't have to start, with the high end ones. I would just say start,
right.
just because you're going to have, folks that are of all walks of life going out and, purchasing vehicles all the time. And, if you've ever done work with mortgage lenders or anything like that, they're going to kind of send you probably some things that are less than stellar right out of the gate, to kind of see what you're capable of. And then as you continue to earn your keep, then they'll start sending you, some more high end things. But really, it's just about being a presence and being there. And other things that we do too is making sure that we share our website. I use the get a quote link from our website all the time, and have the prospects go in there, and I've got a form, and I've also got something that goes directly into PL Raider. It's called CRQ, and so the folks can do either whatever works best for them. That comes right to me, and then based on the location of that customer where they live, then I assign it to the proper location of agency location, storefront that would best suit that customer.
Okay. Anything else, Ian, or are we good?
Yeah, if you guys have another minute, we did have a couple other questions. So one question from David, maybe more just general industry insights, but Jared, since you're here, David was curious what your opinion is with where commissions are headed in the industry, specifically in the independent space. He's tired of giving free advice. But I know we were talking earlier about, things like incentives. So how do you approach, commissions and in terms of maybe looking at the hard versus the softening market?
So one way that I can definitely tell that we are absolutely entrenched into a definitely softening, if not a total soft market, is the amount of cash that these carriers are slinging towards their agents and producers. Everybody that we write with that is a national carrier is given some sort of rewards points or override in commission or spin for dollars that are progressive. They're doing their spins. Liberty Personal Lines does the instant incentives. They've been doing that actually since I worked for them years ago. And so that is one way for sure that I can tell that we're in a softening market, because they want business again. They're doing everything that they can to get it. And another thing that we do internally is we developed I think, one of the best internal incentive programs for our folks than I've ever come across. I've worked a lot of different places, and I took all the good things from all of them and developed what we have. And it's all based on production. We don't give, incentives for internal rewrites. From the carrier perspective, if you take a customer from Progressive and rewrite it to Nationwide, it's new business to Nationwide, so Nationwide's going to give you the incentive. But from a rewrite internal perspective from us, we don't do that. We have incentives for saving customers, but they have to kind of show that they were quoting with other carriers and agents outside of our agency. We've got incentives for upsells and account rounds, everything, but as long as we continue to see a lift in production, we will continue to provide those incentives. And it's really fun to give highlights, on a quarterly basis of how much incentives that we've actually paid out. And then, I'm really a tangible, kind of guy. I like to look back at my graphs and say, oh yeah, I cut that, or I can see how much progress I'm actually taking. And, when I can go in and provide feedback for, we started here and now we're here. You started with this amount of income and now you're here. It helps us too, because we're not constantly being asked for raises, on an hourly rate, from our folks, because well, you can earn, you can get an extra 5, 10, $15 an hour, but it's all going to be based on what you want to put into it.
No, that was great insight and excellent questions from everyone who joined. But I believe the questions have dried up. You guys have burned through them. So, Jason, Jared, any last final thoughts before we head out of here? And if you haven't noticed too, I did put a message in there. So, if anyone is interested in learning more, you can feel free to book a consultation with our sales team. They'd be more than happy to chat with you and go over your goals and whatnot. So, feel free to follow that link.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I
final
just wanted
thought.
to say thanks to Jared. Jared, awesome, awesome, awesome job. And I take away and think about things that we can apply to our own business, and just the authentic way that you approach your agency and how you share that with the rest of the world. We could all be all cloistered up and not willing to say anything in the space, but the fact that you have this knowledge, you're sharing it with our base, very much appreciated. And we thank everyone who joined us today. Really good, large group. A lot of people still sticking around past. We're always proud of that because that means I think we brought a decent discussion today. And we also appreciate all of you for giving us thank yous and compliments. That's always nice to read and see. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would just say thank you guys for sticking around. I apologize if I got a little long-winded, but this is something I'm absolutely passionate about. I'll tell you, one of the things that keeps me up at night is making sure that we as an insurance agency will be and maintain our relevancy, within the marketplace. If I have to think about what did I do today and how can I be better at that tomorrow. And, also don't be afraid to try new things. You'll never know if you can do it if you don't try, and if you fail, you know what not to do next time. It's okay. And the last thing, I'll just have fun with it. We're here to make money and support our families, but why not have a good time along the way, and and enjoy what you do.
Well said. All right. With that, we'll see you next time. Have a great afternoon.